Millen, thank you so much for being here, joining us from UPS today. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your role at UPS.
Thank you for having me. This is pretty exciting. I'm part of the digital marketing organization, and my team's pretty much responsible for analytics, insights, data strategy, and audiences. So that's kind of my role at UPS at a high level. But before we get into all of this, can I just say something? I've been wanting to say it. I just wanted to say, like, Telium's been my favorite vendor. And as you see, like, I own the MarTech stack and I deal with a lot of vendors. And again, I'm not just saying it because, I'm here kind of thing. But, between the sales and support teams, I think they've always come through for us, always. So thank you guys, if you guys are listening in.
That's awesome. What a great big warm hug for the team to start us off today. Really appreciate those kind words. All right, Millen, let's go back in time a little bit and talk to us about some of the themes that impacted the business over the last few years. UPS is a really interesting company to think about what changed when the pandemic hit. How did drivers need to respond, and what was happening inside the company at that time?
Oh my God, it was crazy, right? I think as the pandemic started, right, I think the volume shifts, everything else was just happening, right? Things were changing rapidly. And I think the way we looked at it, right, like, it's like every time the government released funding, right, we'd adjust, we'd get more volume and all of that. So it was a constant battle solving for all of that, right, between the drivers, delivery, and right, like, and we're not I guess we're more of a fixed asset heavy business, right? So you can't just throw bodies at, delivering packages. You got to make sure they got the right licenses. They got, the commercial licenses. So we had to adapt a lot, but I think we're at a point where we've learned to flex our whole ecosystem, right? Starting from operations to things we do in the digital world, all of that to be very adaptive to what's happening out there, right? And I think it's not going to stop, right? I think there's going to be like another variant of COVID, or something's going to happen. It's not going to stop at us. So
we've always got to be ready for whatever looms around the corner. Tell us, how long have you been with UPS?
Oh my God, 22 years. So dating, I guess, reverse math says I was maybe 10 years old when I started.
There you go. Wow.
Okay, I tried. No, but yeah, it's been 22 years, but it's been a great journey, right? I think started off with when e-commerce was a thing. You remember, it was about all hi-fis as soon as you had a web page up and running, or you had a functionality up and running. And it was all about one size fits all, but I think we've come a long way in solving some of those. So it's been a great journey.
What were some of those indicators for you and the team on, hey, I think we need a CDP to help us position ourselves for the future?
So this was pretty interesting, right? So just from a CDP point of view, right? So it started off as more of an executive reporting, right? So we kind of, right, you said 1907, do the math, we're 115 plus year old company. We were very reporting heavy, right? And I think we had to continue that stream. So the early onset of why we had a CDP was to do executive reporting, right? And then we started seeing the power of the CDP. We're like, okay, can we add audiences in, right? And do something and try to activate on those audiences across different paid channels and everything else. So then that evolved into that. And I think we're about to jump into the next phase, right? That's part of my responsibility, where I'm going to lean a lot on, CDP, audience-based tools. And we can talk a little more about those too.
Talk to us about volumes at UPS. How many packages are going out a day? Kind of quantify for us the volumes that you're looking to organize.
So we have an operations team that does fantastic, right? How about 20 million upwards every single day? And obviously, when you get into December, November timeframe, it just goes crazy. It goes like three folds right on top of that, our daily averages. So it just goes crazy. On the digital side, we have an equivalent footprint, right? We look at like more than 30 to 50 million tracking requests across all channels every single day. And we have to manage and maintain that infrastructure 24/7, right? Because we're a global company now.
So talk to us about omni-channel and what that means at UPS. What are all the different ways that customers are engaging with you?
Okay, so let me go back a little bit, right? So I was talking about my e-commerce days, right? Like I said, like high-fiving on a page, but it was all about one size fits all, right? And no matter what you were, where you were from, you got the exact same experience. And translations at that point was the coolest thing we did, right? Early on. But now I think we're at a point where we're starting to personalize more and more, right, across the customer journeys and personalizing experiences to customers, doing more A/B testing, all of that. But I think where we really are trying to go is kind of call it hyper personalization, right? Call it around omni-channel personalization, meaning in our case, it would be connecting our digital experiences to the UPS store experiences, to the call centers. Maybe you go pick up a package at an access point, and we just need to have all of those stitched, right? Even all of those stitched with your phones. Okay, you can't see my phone well, but you get it.
Yep.
But again, the point is all stitching about all of that, right? And that's where we started to look at where we wanted to be in our digital experience journey. And we realized, right, we had to do something, and we're trying to set up our strategy, our foundational, all of that. And then obviously madness happened in the industry, right? COVID was one, right? We were already going there. But Google kind of, threw a curveball at us, said, hey, cookies going away. So it's pretty interesting, right? So we're starting to solve for cookies initially, just like everybody else. It's like, oh my God, there's fire. Okay, just run out of the building kind of thing. Yeah. But I think we realized that maybe solving for cookies was not the right thing to do. It was a trigger that got us all going. We started looking, right? Like I said, we have phenomenal amount of customer data. Think about the 20 million packages. Every package has a receiver and a shipper. There's multiple touch points. All of that. We have people not just tracking packages online. We got people shipping, coding. We have so much footprint of customers with us again, and that's where we kind of started saying, okay, all right, now we have to start looking at our first party data. Because cookies are going away, and we're fortunately we're in a good position. We have so much data, right, that we can leverage and start executing on it, right? But I think that I feel like there's two parts of the data. Well, let's just go one level above, right? Like I started off with the experience strategy, right? We're all about giving best experiences to users. But there's like two kind of key pillars that sit underneath the experience, right? You got to have a data strategy. You got to have a technology strategy. And that's where I think, we've been trying to solve around the data strategy and the technology on my side.
And thinking about giving the best experiences to your customers, how important is the role of real time to UPS?
Oh my God, it's like we really need to get it right? Like, so we have some areas where we can kind of go semi-real time, but think about a connected journey that's almost real time. It is extremely valuable, right? I think, think about, so just quick use case, right? I mean, the power of real time is where it comes, right? You started shipping something and literally in a few minutes, you were at the UPS store for whatever reason. And what if we were able to offer you the same promotion, same this thing, or you might have just called the call center and the call center agent knows exactly what you are doing, what you're trying to do, and tee up the right set of promotions. So it's just going to be extremely valuable to us.
UPS has really unique interactions with customers in that, the drivers oftentimes are physically putting something in a customer's hand, or maybe catching a customer in their robe and slippers, on the front porch. Talk about privacy and how does privacy regulation impact UPS?
So, okay, let me talk about your example of the rope thing. If we take pictures, we're only going to take pictures of the package. So, no, don't get scared there. Yeah, okay. But privacy is kind of the other dimension, right? That's kicking us on the side, right? As we look at it, right, customers want more personalized experiences on one hand. The other side, they're like, I don't want to give you more information, right? And then there's that balance on how do you get consent from them and try to give them the best experiences we can. And not only that, right? Like, I think, there's compliance and, regulatory issues and challenges in front of us all the time, right? Started off in Europe with GDPR. And I feel like in about 8 years, every city is going to have their own, right? The states have started in the US. So it's going to come, right? And I think we have to start solving for that. I think one of the issues we've been dealing with, right, in compliance, and I think we're compliant right now, but I think that's where putting a centralized single source of truth around your compliance and your preferences, whether it's your opt-in, opt-out on the digital channel, whether it's your opt-in, opt-out on your email campaigns, all of that, they need to be at one single location, right? I think that's where the power of something like a CDP comes in, right? Having it all in one place, because right now we have to, do a lot of manual processing and things like that to run and go through those campaigns.
Yeah. So in looking at your teams right now, what are their priorities? What are they focused on? What are the teams prepping for that you believe is coming next?
Extremely important is our first party data strategy. That's kind of at the heart of everything we're doing, right? So as part of, like I said, right, like we want a single source of truth. And our whole vision is around taking that single source of truth and activating it across different channels, right? Whether you look at your email, your paid, your, I guess, your ups.com experiences. We want to take it like you initially asked, right? Like around omni-channel. And we want to take those experiences through that single source of truth into your non-digital experiences too, right? At the stores and things like that. So we're starting to do that on one end. And then the other part we're trying to solve is audiencing, right? Everything is cookie-based today, right? And we have to shift from cookies into people-based audiencing strategy. Gone, right? I mean, Google's clearly said what they're going to do. Obviously, they haven't done anything. They're saying 2023. And once that goes away, we're going to have to be ready, right? So on the one end, we're solving for that single source of truth and figuring out, what we need to do and augment to our CDP and how to make it work for us. But then the other important is the DMPs. They are cookie-based audiences and they are going away. So right now, as it stands, we are starting to look at what do we need to do, right, to evolve our MarTech stack, moving away from cookie-based platforms into people-based. And also, right, and I think also like there's going to be adjacent technologies that we're starting to look at, which is around how to build and move things in real time, right? Like stream things real time. We just invested in Event Stream. And that's going to be a huge, huge help in connecting some of those batch processes we had, right? So like, I'll just give you an example, right? We used to depend on, our analytics platform a lot. So customers would do something, it would go into analytics, 2-3 hours processing, gets fed back into the CDP, all of that. We're trying to change all that. Obviously, everything in a privacy safe way. None of us want to go to jail, right? That's my kind job.
Yeah, we talked about orange is not a good look for anybody.
Yes.
So yeah, let's keep the teams out of jail, keep you compliant. Absolutely, we can help with that. Okay, so I know you also mentioned your teams are working on some really interesting testing in some of the more innovative tech that a lot of brands are, starting to explore a little bit right now. Talk to us about AI, ML, metaverse, blockchain.
So we're doing a lot of, I guess, modeling even when it comes to, our personalization efforts, our paid media campaigns. We're starting to take some of that, into our sales management too, right? So we're doing a lot on that end. But I think we have to build on that momentum and keep going at it. And I think a key component, I feel like, of our data strategy, it's going to be figuring out how we use that, take the momentum we've had, and see how we can, what are the tool sets out there, right, to help us with AI, machine learning, and kind of help us move away from the current personalized experiences into what we call like hyper personalized experiences, right? Technically oversimplifying it, think of it as the computer knows where your next click is going to be, kind of thing, right? Gets creepy, but yeah, that's where we want to go.
Yeah. What are some of the most exciting use cases that the team has celebrated since implementing a CDP?
Lots. I'll start off with, our, I think I'll go to the one with, won't give all the details, but I think go to the one with the sales thing, right? So we've had some extremely good successes with the sales channels, right? Like propensity to churn modeling. We've had a lot of good successes there. That's the one that I think that comes to the top of my mind right now.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's a big one. Okay, in thinking about your 22 years with UPS and all of the digital transformation that you've witnessed and participated in, what advice would you give to the folks in the audience with us today? What should they be investing in? What should they be paying attention to?
So I'll say, I think what you got to do is, you can dream up of experiences, right? There's always going to be a marketing team that's going to be really good at strategizing and coming up with that. But you have to invest in your data strategy and your technology strategy, right? A lot of, I think, I would assume it's pretty much the same for most companies around, right? We started going digital several years back. I think it's about time to reassess all the tool sets, what we have. And give it a detailed look, right? But again, I think the biggest advice I think I have is like, don't try to eat the whole hot dog, right? Just take a bite at a time. Go slow, do as much as you can, use cases, go around the organization, try to see what the organization wants. If you're in my role, right? Like go around the organization, figure out what they want to solve and start solving those, get some early wins, build some pipelines across your digital stack, start collecting some data, start creating your unified ID, right? Your people graph or people-based audiencing, and see where you go. This is not going to be easy. I can guarantee you that, right? But again, I think having a set of partners that you work with, right? Like we work with Sapient as our partners. They've been very helpful. On the other end, bringing things inside the house, you have to have a great set of leaders that help you, right? And again, I think I just am a little spoiled. I say I got lucky, right? So we have a steering committee of a lot of digital leaders from across, right? Media, brand, digital marketing, customer technology marketing, all those groups together. And I know, like, steering committee is sometimes used as a negative connotation. I think I want to call it like an enablement committee, if you want to call that, right? But it's, we didn't have to sell or anything around, looking at first party data strategy and making sure that we host that data in our CDP, because that's the right place. Looking at an audiencing tool and trying to figure out what else do we need to invest, right? Like event stream and things like that to, move us forward. So that's going to be the other important angle you got to look at.
That's a very nice segue into a question that we received from the audience that I'd love to ask you. How is your team structured? How's your team structured? So what kind of people and processes are critical to have internally?
Okay, so full disclosure, I don't own the CDP at UPS, right? I'm kind of pretty soon going to be their biggest user, right? But I think the way right now it's structured, it's two areas, right? The first is essentially around, maintaining, keeping up the infrastructure, right? Like making sure all the pipelines are there and all of that. And then the other part is more around using that data, right? Which is, building out AI models and all of those things, taking it back to the marketing organization, sharing all that information with them. And pretty soon, I am going to be the third largest customer of theirs, right? Which is going to be around using all that phenomenal data we have, right? Like right now, we have 300 terabytes and up of data sitting in our CDP. And I'd say that's just an ounce of what we have at UPS. So I'm gonna, maybe make their lives a little more challenging, but we're gonna squeeze a whole lot of value out of our CDP invest and see where we need to go next.
Love that. Okay, we've got another question for you. How can companies test and learn from the metaverse?
So honestly, we've had a cautious approach on metaverse. We're still looking at it. So I probably am not the right guy to answer your question.
Oh, come on. What do you think? It just your take. It doesn't have to be from your success. What do you think?
I think I'm going to go back to what I said. You got to be cautious there, right? It's all virtual. But I think I see, right? There's a lot of people investing around metaverse, and we're going to get there one day. It's just around figuring out where we get the most business value out of it, right? There's going to be that cool factor, and there's going to be the business value. So I think we're trying to figure out where we need to be.
I love the image of opening a package in the metaverse, and I'm being taken back to my paperboy days of, the paper being tossed on the front porch, right? But it's just such a fundamental aspect of our lives to receive our deliveries at home. So I know that there's a really unique role for UPS to play there. So that's fun to think about.
That's probably the one place where virtual deliveries will occur, right? We have this going joke, right? There's no virtual package, right? I mean, you got to touch it to call it a package, but
yeah,
it might change, like you're saying. So
absolutely. What about other industries? What other industries do you pay attention to? What other industries really play a key role, which have factors that impact UPS?
So when we benchmark ourselves, right, obviously the traditional view is looking, at our industry peers and seeing, right, and then looking at, some of our customers that are coming close to doing what we do, kind of thing. But also, right, when you go digital, it's not about your competitors or your transportation industry, right? It's about the cool or the wow experiences that you can deliver, right? Like, I keep using this Delta example. You call them right before a flight. The first thing they ask you, hey, are you calling about your flight out of Atlanta tomorrow? And that's, I say it's very subtle, right? But it's powerful. It just saved me the grief of going through 20 options, going back, getting on hold, going through 4 levels of customer service, straight into exactly what it predicted I was likely to be calling about.
Right. Right.
So we're not limiting ourselves to our industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to look at what's happening in other industries. And what about globally? Is there anything happening overseas that's unique or different that you think is coming to the States?
So overseas is a very different beast for us, right? In the US, right, when we look at our industry, we pretty much, a leadership role, right? As you go abroad, you go a little more humble. You're like, yep, you're gonna have to play by the rules, right? And figure out how you wanna operate in those environments. And right, like I think, you look at the technologies that are happening in China and a lot of other countries, and we keep our eyes out on what's being used out there to bring it here and see if it works, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Milan, this has just been such a fun conversation. You have really incredible insights from UPS and all of your time and experience there, and just extend huge thanks to you for spending some time with us today.
Cool. Thank you so much for moderating this. I appreciate everyone's time.